On the 16th of September 2000, the political trajectory of Sri Lanka, and in particular that of the Sri Lankan Muslim community, was altered forever as news of the tragic and untimely death of one of Sri Lanka's political leaders spread across the nation. "23 years have passed, and neither M.H.M. Ashraff's name nor his legacy have shown any signs of waning. They remain permanently etched in the hearts and minds of the people he led and inspired. Such is the impact of the individual upon the community and the people to whom he gave leadership and hope. Born in Sammanture and raised along the eastern shores of Sri Lanka in Kalmane, M.H.M. Ashraff always demonstrated a keen interest in social issues and community well-being. His grasp of the pulse of the people and the issues that plagued the common man was a trait not uncommon amongst his family, particularly in matters where the law of the land appeared biased and at times oppressive. Thus, it was no surprise to those around him when he decided to read law and serve the nation as an attorney. However, despite his astute capabilities, the constant political upheavals of the period remained of grave concern to him. The escalating issues between the state and the Sri Lankan Tamils were rapidly evolving into militancy in the east, with the Muslims caught in the crossfire or being drawn to militancy themselves. To that end, and in an effort to draw Muslim youth towards a more appeasing long-term solution, Ashraff founded the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress in 1981. Thus began a journey that would forever change the fabric of Sri Lankan politics and history. The SLMC under Ashraff's leadership soon established itself as the decisive voice of the Sri Lankan Muslims, at least as far as the East was concerned. It was a role that was not without criticism, particularly from within the larger Muslim community itself, who took issue with what they perceived to be a chauvinistic and communal political force. But this never dissuaded Ashraff, who championed the voice of all Muslim people whenever or wherever he saw injustice and oppression being wrought upon them.
Muslim Congress பொறுத்தவரை காலி மக்களுக்கு ஒன்றை சொல்லிக் கொள்ள விரும்புகின்றோம். காலி மக்கள் கஷ்டப்பட்ட போதும், காலி மக்கள் அடிக்கப்பட்ட போதெல்லாம் பாராளுமன்றத்திலே பேசுவதற்கு யாரும் இருக்கவில்லை. நாங்கள் அனாதைகளாக இருந்தோம். இனிமேல் அவ்வாறான ஒரு நிலை எங்களுக்கு ஏற்பட மாட்டாது. இன்ஷா அல்லாஹ் பிப்ரவரி மாதம் 15ஆம் தேதியின் பின்பு இந்த நாட்டிலே முஸ்லிம்கள் தலைநிமிர்ந்து வாழ முடியும்.
The SLMC contested the general elections as a recognized political party in 1989, winning 4 seats in parliament. By this time, Ashraff had formed firm alliances with numerous Tamil parties in the country, and the SLMC began to propagate itself as an independent voice of all Sri Lankans seeking justice. Even though the party affirmed its independent stance as members of the opposition, the SLMC and Ashraff in particular remained staunch allies of President Ranasinghe Premadasa and supported him during his presidential election, a gesture of goodwill that was never forgotten and subsequently led to the electoral cutoff point being reduced from 12.5% to 5% upon Ashraff's request, in order to ensure a higher percentage of proportional representation from the Muslim community at future elections. By 1994, Ashraff allied himself with Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga, and the SLMC contested the general election as members of the People's Alliance, winning 7 seats in parliament. Ashraff was appointed Minister for Ports, Shipping, Rehabilitation and Reconstruction, a portfolio he utilized to cement his legacy in Sri Lanka. The social empowerment of the people of the East and their recognition by the state as invaluable contributors to the fabric of Sri Lanka was a factor that concerned Ashraff immensely. He recognized that unless the standards of education and social empowerment were enhanced, change would be a long time coming.
It is therefore the education or the learning of the Muslim community that we are trying to shape today. We have a duty to ensure that this education, this knowledge, this learning, this wisdom that we derive will help to retain the individualistic character, the independence and the respect of the minority community in Sri Lanka.
With his newly acquired portfolio, he set about implementing a rapid development plan for Sri Lanka, both in political and social terms, which he executed concurrently. He recognized that the people of Sri Lanka were frustrated with the political options made available to them, most of which had outlived their purpose, or, like the SLMC, were built on ethnic foundations, thereby limiting their scope. Thus, he set about laying the foundations for the National Unity Alliance, a new choice, as he described it, based on the vision of a united Sri Lanka with equal rights and liberties for all Sri Lankans. He identified the village of Oluville in Ampara as the beacon for Sri Lanka's future and set about building what would soon become, as he envisioned, the focal point of illumination and development in the East in the years to come. Within a short span of merely 6 years, he was able to successfully usher in 2 major projects into fruition, namely the Oluville Fisheries Harbour and the Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. The Southeastern University of Sri Lanka was without a doubt his greatest contribution to the nation and its people. What began as merely a dream has today produced no less than 13,422 graduates, of which 11,402 have been internal and 2,020 external, all of whom are today blazing new trails in their respective streams. It is often said that one man can make a difference, for as a Muslim minority member, as a Sri Lankan, he didn't just make a difference. He raised the bar for minority politics and set a new standard that is yet to be met, let alone surpassed by a Sri Lankan Muslim politician. He demonstrated to Sri Lanka how a unified vision could transform a minority leader into a national one. His name and legacy is one that shall endure and live on through his deeds to the people for whom he pledged his service and his life. May Almighty Allah bless him with the highest abode in Jannah.
Inshallah, I have always said inshallah, God willing, and God will. God will. And I wish to quote from the Holy Quran. God has stated in the Holy Quran, a people's destiny will not be changed unless the people change their destiny.